and flipping through the channels and ran across a real sports story on HBO, and as it's opening up, it tells you 3 different stories they're going to cover, and they mentioned one about baseball and about special needs children, and that really caught my attention. And
You're listening to the Water Prairie Chronicles, a podcast that supports parents of children with disabilities by sharing the stories of individuals who have grown up with disabilities and the organizations available to help parents along the way. Stay connected with us by clicking the subscribe button and leave us a comment if you want to join in on the conversation. Last week, we met Benji Capps, the executive director of the Miracle League of the Triangle in Cary, North Carolina. And today we're talking with Robin Rose about how the Miracle League of the Triangle got started and how you could start a Miracle League if there isn't one in your area that you live in. So, Robin, welcome to Water Prairie.
thank you for having me.
And to get started, would you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
I'm 67 years old. Been involved with baseball of some sort since I was in the Little League back in Wilson, North Carolina, and pretty much baseball has been a big part of my life. Even to today, I still play baseball with the men's senior league, baseball league, North Carolina Central League, and it's wooden bat, and play through the summertime. And I'm still involved in baseball, but I would tell you that the Miracle League would be, our project that we're most proud of throughout the years.
Nice. Now, those that are listening, if you did not listen to last week's and you're not familiar with what the Miracle League is, I'd encourage you to go back to last week's episode. Benji gives us a really good rundown of what the Miracle League is all about, and you'll be able to see some images of what's happening at their field specifically. But today we're going to talk about starting up the Miracle League of the Triangle, and just to give you some tools and some ideas if you want to start one in your area. So, Robin, how did you first hear about the Miracle League?
Well, back in 2005, I happened to be sitting on my couch, or maybe laying on my couch on a Sunday afternoon, like most husbands are, and flipping through the channels and ran across a real sports story on HBO. And as it's opening up, it tells you 3 different stories they're going to cover, and they mentioned one about baseball and about special needs children, and that really caught my attention. And so I locked in on that, and I'll tell you, the Lord picked me up off that couch and put me about 5 feet from that TV and had me mesmerized, and pretty much said, "Hey, you go do this, and I'm going to help you every step." And He has helped every step. So first person that popped in my mind was Tonya Withers. Tonya and I have had a business relationship and a friendship relationship for a long time, and we kind of see things eyeball to eyeball, a lot of things, and we both enjoyed the game of baseball. And he's the first person I thought of. I called him up and said, "Tony, this HBO program's coming on Wednesday night. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I just want you to watch it and tell me what you think about it, and call me back on Thursday." He said, "Well, I don't have HBO." I said, "Well, go find a neighbor or somebody who's got HBO and watch this program." I think it was a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. And he did, and he didn't wait till Thursday. He called me Wednesday night after the program. He says, "When are we going to get started?" And I said, "How about today?" So that's how that actually started.
Wow. So it was a quick reaction to it. I was going to ask you what your reaction was, but that was a definite heart pull for both of you, it sounds like.
Well, the program was that impactful. It was really that impactful to both of us.
So how did you start the process then? So you called Tony, but what did the two of you do to even get started?
Well, we first of all did some research on the Miracle League itself in the national office, which came pretty much off of that program. And we decided we would start by going to see a Miracle League field in action, to see what it was all about live. And the closest field happened to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at the time.
Okay.
And had a really excellent director, Stephanie Davis, who now is with the home office in Atlanta. We went down to see her to talk about it, spent some time with her, and then we just started the process of coming back home, trying to do location identification on where the best place to be for this field, and started talking about the people that were our friends and people that had the same interest that we had. And some of our friends have special needs children, and try to put together and form a board and pull a team together to take on this venture here, because it's something that everybody was excited about getting involved with. Didn't have anybody have any questions about it. We just showed them the program like we watched the program and said, if you're interested, we'd like to have you. And everybody was all in.
Wow. So when you first contacted the national office, what did they provide you with to help you get started?
They had a package of things to get the Miracle League started because they were already up and running and they were moving at a fast pace. And so they had a brochure of the Miracle League and how it runs. And, it's a 2-inning game. And, they just kind of laid out the template for you on how to get started. And we actually got in our car and we drove down to Atlanta to meet the staff, Diane Alford and her staff down there at the time, so we could talk about it, go see a couple of more Miracle League fields that are in Georgia, and just try to get ideas on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it.
Okay. So part of the biggest, I would say for me, I would think the biggest question I would have coming into this is how it's one thing to have the plan and to know, kind of how it's going to run as a program, but you've got to have the facility to work with. So how did you start raising the funds to even be able to build a field and a place to work? Or did you build a field at first?
Well, good question. I mean, the first thing we want to do is try to find a good location. A lot of these fields that we ran across were actually fields that were surrounded by other fields, whether it be soccer fields, baseball fields, and normally it was a town or a city park is where a lot of these fields were located. There were some that weren't, but we wanted to find the perfect location, and we looked at several locations, and we reached out to the town of Cary, and at that time Mary Henderson was the Parks and Recs director, and we told her we went by to see her. She's actually on our board today. We went by to see her and said, we're interested in trying to do this Miracle League Park somewhere, and do you have a facility somewhere we may be able to step into and be able to service a special needs community? And she thought about it for a couple of days. I think she called us back up and she said, look, I think I've got the perfect place for you. We have an agreement that we're getting ready to put in place with Henry Adams Elementary School, which is right off of 440. And she said we're positioned up to use their field that they have there, but I think it's probably a perfect location for y'all. So we'll pass on that, and we'll let you pursue that if you want to. But all of this stuff is a blessing. It just came. It was laid out in front of us. So we went through the Wake County Public School System to have an agreement with those guys to do a Miracle League field. We went and showed them the program. It had to go in front of the board. We were after 20 years, but I think in the beginning they were only going to give us 5 years so they could take a look at it, because nobody knew what the Miracle League was, and nobody really knew in Wake County School System who Tonya and I were. You could do a little quick fact check, I guess, but they didn't know who we were, and they didn't know what we were bringing there. And it was kind of like, we're going to give you an opportunity to come in, but we want to see what this thing is all about. And I think it was moved to 10 years when we actually had the agreement. And after 3 years, or 2 years, we went back. We had a board member on the Wake County School System say, come back and ask for 10 more, because what you guys are doing is incredible. We want you to have there. Because, there's a lot of money invested there. We wanted at least 20 years of what we wanted. And in the end, the Wake County School System, because of our performance and because of the good that it brought to the community and the smiles and the joy, they extended us to 20 years. So that's how the location part happened. As far as the fundraising is concerned, Tony and I'm in the construction business, or the land development business, and Tony's in the engineering business. And we knew a lot of people in the community that could come together and put this field together for us. We knew graders, we knew fence people, we knew surface people, we knew brick people that build buildings. We knew everybody because of what we've done, and we were able to go reach out to those folks and ask for their help. And not one person said, I don't think I can help you on this project. Everybody said, what do you want me to do? I actually showed the video from HBO, which was about a 19-minute video. It was kind of long. And I had a couple of guys sitting there looking at my laptop, and we didn't get through 8 minutes of it. And they reached over there and shut it down and said, what can I do to help you? That's how far it got. So, wow. Like I said, we were blessed all the way through. We had a lot of good people, and even today, there's so many people involved with this. We can talk about Benji and Robin and Tony all you want to, but this is a community deal now. We just, as Tony would say, we just got a seat on the bus, and we're happy to be driving that bus.
Now, you mentioned that some of the names that you just mentioned were board members. So you're organized as a separate organization. You're not part of the town. You're not part of the schools, correct?
Right. Exactly. We're our own, I call it independent Miracle League, but a majority of the Miracle Leagues, and I can't tell you what percentage is, but normally it's either run by the YMCA or run by the city or the municipality town that it's in. And normally they're involved in, because they like community, they want to be in parks where you have other children playing, whether it be Major League Baseball, whether it be softball, or whether it be soccer. That's creating that community too, because those people are there. But I would say on the other end of that, our fields, which are kind of independent of anything like that, and it's kind of like their special space. This is their space. And when they're there, it's their community. You know what I mean? So it works on both ends. It really does work on both sides. But in our particular, and there's no reason. I mean, we didn't shy away from anything like that. But we were looking for location. So people could actually come out and see and cheer for these kids. So it works both ways, whether it be with the city, whether it be within a park situation, or whether it be a standalone.
And I know the Miracle League of the Triangle has 2 active fields right now and a third one about to start. And so the first one is the one that you've just described, the one in Cary. The second one, was that part of a collaboration with another organization, or is that another standalone like it is?
It's a standalone, but it was in collaboration with the YMCA, Capital YMCA, if you will. It was their property.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the difference here. In Henry Adams School, the parking lot was there, the utilities were there, the field was flat, and it was a pretty easy get for us. In North Raleigh, it was a raw piece of property that had 30, 40-foot trees on there. There were no utilities down there. Oh, wow. The construction cost and the numbers that it took to build that particular field were probably 2.5 times more than what we did for the Cary field. Okay. And now today the YMCA has donated that land to us, so we own that land outright. Oh wow! And we, if they ever need to use it, they're certainly welcome to use it. But we own that field now.
So you have the first field that is the property's being leased, but the field is what you've built, but the land that it's on is what's being leased, correct?
Yes, I mean it's a $10 a year or whatever. It's like I said, we've got a shared agreement with the Wake County Public School System. They get to use the field for their children in school. Okay. And I'm pretty sure Henry Adams School is a school that has been designated as special needs there as well. Even though it's got more probably special needs children there than all elementary schools, and it really doesn't matter. It's a field for everybody. It's a field for their kickball. It's a track for if they want to run, or they walk. A lot of teachers come out at break time and they have lunch and they walk around the track. So we have a track around every field, and and the reason that came about is because there was a dirt track there when we went to Henry Adams School. We said it was dirt. It was nothing. It was really nothing. But we said, you know what? We're going to put an asphalt track around this field so that they can still have their track.
I remember when my daughter first started playing there, my son was he was maybe 8 years old, 7 or 8. And I can remember sitting in the stands and counting how many times I could see him running around behind the outfield as he was making his laps, just finding his thing. And as he got older, he became more involved as a buddy and was on the field after that. But I appreciate it as a parent having that track there because I knew where he was. He wasn't out in the parking lot. He wasn't getting in trouble somewhere. Right. he was safe. But I was curious about that if the school was using that because it's a great facility. Yeah, and I do know that there are children there who are safer on that field. All of them are because it's a fenced-in field, so they can play kickball without a ball rolling into the road. Exactly. It is a safe place there. So you have those two, and then the third field that is in the process right now, and our family's looking forward to that one opening because we've been watching the plans for years, waiting for that to come on. But that's in collaboration with, is it with the Durham Bulls that you're working
It
with?
is a Capital Broadcasting Company in the Durham Bulls, yes.
Okay, and then also with Durham itself. Is
Not with the city of Durham.
not
No.
with the city? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just with that. I knew there were
Yep.
some agreements that were going on with that, but I wasn't sure if it was because of any type of ownership or just for the getting the permissions to use the land the way that you want to use it.
Well, half of the land, or a little bit more, half of the land, it was owned by the Durham Housing Authority, and the other half by the Durham Bulls. The Durham Bulls were actually using that for parking for their games.
Okay.
And that's how that came about. We wanted to be in the vicinity of the Durham Bulls Park. We wanted to mimic the Durham Bulls Stadium. So that was a perfect spot for it. Hindsight on that is that when you're dealing with the Durham Housing Authority, they were all in. I mean, they saw the program. They went to their board. They voted on it, and it was good to go. It took a little time, but they were good to go on it to let us lease that field from them. And then we got a call that said, we actually can't sign that lease with you because it's owned by HUD. And that's when things started slowing down, because if you ever having to deal with HUD or any government entity, there's a lot of red tape, and you can call and beat on doors and go sit on the steps and try to see somebody, but it was a process. I'll tell you that it's a process. So if I'm going to make any recommendations, if you're building a miracle, stay away from government property, because it's hard to do. You get it done, but it takes a while to get it done.
Just to make sure that we are being fair, it's not individuals that are trying to stop you on that. It's all the red tape that's put in place for reasons, but it just takes time.
Nobody is trying to stop. Absolutely not. It's just the red tape that you got to go through to get it. And we didn't realize that was HUD owned property. We thought the Durham Housing Authority owned it. And like I said, we went to see those guys, and they looked at it, they sent it to the board, they checked the boxes, we were all in. And then I guess they got notification, as we were trying to put this thing together, that it was actually HUD owned property. So, and that's a process. I think maybe a year or 2 years worth of going back and forth and trying to call and knocking on doors and doing everything we can. And then you're right in the middle of this, we had the COVID thing, but we had this worked out with HUD before then.
You were facing some bigger challenges because of COVID during the process through the third field now, and so I'm sure that was slowing everything down.
Yeah, I mean, what, we were kind of through that before COVID hit, but then when COVID hit, it did slow. I would say it slowed the construction work down, the construction part of it down. You know what I mean? I think we were through all the red tape and stuff, or just about through all the red tape by the time COVID hit. But you know what happened when COVID hit, and that was for everybody, every business, every game, every field, everything.
Oh, right. So that field I'm probably the most excited about because of the connection with the Durham Bulls. And I'm thinking, just as we're talking, around the country right now, how many areas do we have professional and semi-professional teams that have no Miracle League anywhere within reach of them? And maybe someone listening to this has a connection there, and they can help get a few more started throughout the country, even in those areas, using some of those resources of land that they may not even be using, that those teams and owners of the teams have access to.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more of that going on than we actually know. I will tell you right away, I mean, before we even got started, the Kansas City Royals were the first one in. If you look at the Google Maps and you zoom in on the Kansas City Royal Stadium, if you look right behind the left field wall, you'll see a Miracle League field.
Oh, wow.
That was the first one that I saw. And that's almost, we're almost trying to mimic that with the Durham Bulls. And this, and I'll call it a stadium because that's what it is that we're building. We'll have the Blue Monster, and we'll have the Bull in the outfield. It's going to mimic the Durham Bulls stadium as close as we can.
Nice. So are you going to have a bull with smoke coming out of his nose with everyone's home run?
If we got anything to do with it, yes.
I know that there are a lot of kids who would enjoy seeing that if they're able to.
Absolutely. You got to be a part of it. Like I said, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so on your organization, did you start with filing as a nonprofit right away? Did you establish as an LLC first as you started moving through? What were those background licensing that you had to go through?
Yeah, we actually had, copied, I say copied, mimicked, whatever word you want to use for it, the YMCA model. Tim
Okay.
Joyce, who was here in Cary for years and years and years before he moved to Richmond to handle several YMCAs. He was on our board as well, and he helped us form this nonprofit, and we mimicked right behind the YMCA on exactly how they did it, how they brought board members on, how you roll them off. I mean, so we like I said, seemed like we had somebody that touched every need we had on the board, and they came through in fine colors. And our board's a working board. Our board members don't get paid for anything. If we go on trips for Miracle League, we pay our own way. This is a working board. These are people that take their time and their heart and their money, and they make it possible for these kids to have joy, every weekend. So of the season, of course.
Yeah. And overall, from what I've seen from a family's point of view, and as I've gotten to know some of the leadership better, it's being well done. So I would encourage those that are listening to really listen through this and think through some of the ideas that Robin's given you, because everyone starting out is going to flounder a little bit to know how to get started, where to go. But just hearing this is helping, I think, with, like, if I were to step in, I would have so much research to have to go through. But hearing what you're sharing already, I've got all kinds of ideas if I wanted to start a program right now where I would even start with it. And so so I'm hoping that those that are listening will really think about this, and whether they can start or whether they need to be the catalyst to get the next person to start. Start talking with your friends if there's not a program in your area. And as we said last week, in the show notes for this, whether you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, there's a link to the national office, and Stephanie is the one who you'll be contacting there. Even if you're not looking to start a field, if you're trying to find a field for your child, contact Stephanie. She will be able to tell you exactly what's the closest field to where you live right now. And so she had asked me to link it that way instead of putting a full list of fields. But if you have a field that you want to contact me about, feel free to do that as well. We'll be glad to try to help get the word out to your area as much as we can. So speaking of getting the word out, if a listener lives in an area where there's not a Miracle League, what advice would you give them if they want to get a program started? So from what you've learned through all this process, what's the biggest advice that you would pass on to the next person wanting to start?
Well, you've got to surround yourself with I call them doers, people that get things done. And they always say, if you want something done, get a busy person to do it. That's what you got to surround yourself with, people that can help you get things done. I mean, we kind of were laser focused on exactly. We kind of knew where we were heading, but you say anything you want to say about it all the way along. We were blessed all the way along with things falling in line for us. People donating money coming in that we never even asked for. They just happened to hear about it on a program, on a radio show, or saw it on a TV show, sold us out and sent us a check. I mean, but to get one started, you got to have people that are doers. You got to have people that are focused on getting this done. If you're working a full-time job, that's hard to do. But the way Tony and I looked at it at the time is that this is what we do for fun on our off time, and it was we were excited about it. We met literally every other day to begin with, and then it was weekly, and then we've got files full of notes, and I mean we've got minutes, or we'll call them minutes. We got paper towels and napkins with scribble on it of what we're going to do next, and we've got files and files and files of that. But it's just something that if it's in your heart. And you've got a drive to get it done, you can get it done. I'll give you a perfect example on fundraising. There's always a question of where's the money going to come from? How's the money? I mean, in my mind, I knew that the money would follow. All you had to do is get in front of people. We went to see every bank, and I say every bank, we didn't go to every branch, but we went to see every bank in the triangle and sat down with those people and showed them what we were going to do. And ask for the donation. Like I said, most of them said, "What can we do to help? Show us the levels." We're in. We're all in. It's probably easier the second go around. The first time, people didn't know what the Miracle League was. I mean, we were the first Miracle League in North Carolina. And now there's 14 members now, which is incredible. 14 members. And now over the United States, there's 325 Miracle Leagues, and it's growing daily. When you talk to Stephanie, if you talk to her, she'll tell you all about that. But, you still funding. Where do we get the funding from? And Tony had a brilliant idea. We built a wall in Cary, and we were going to sell 100 slots, plaques, is what we call them, 100 plaques for $5,000 a piece, paid over 5 years or 3 years. It was your choice. To go ask for, someone, a neighbor, something to give you $5,000, it's probably not an easy get. But if you tell somebody, you show them the program, and you tell somebody, we're asking for $5,000, but it's payable over 5 years. It's $1,000 a year. You start breaking those numbers down like that, and what is that per week? 52 weeks. How much money do you have to set by to do that? We broke that down, and we sold those 100 plaques literally in probably 45 days. All 100 in 45 days. So right there was $500,000. So it's right there was $500,000 commitment. If you've got that commitment, that you can pretty much get a bank to leverage the credit line for you to go ahead and build. The first build cost us $750,000 to do. There were a couple of, where's this check coming from? Where are we going to get the money to get this thing finished? And I'm going to tell you again, the Lord said, you get this thing started, I'm going to help you get there. We were probably at the $500,000 level when Andy's, which is now Highway 55, Kenny Moore, stepped up and said, we want to be your name and rights for the field. And he didn't have a store in town. He did it because he's an ex-baseball guy. Played baseball at the same college I played at, maybe 8 years later. Saw the need as well and said, this is just something. I'm not doing it because I want you to buy my hamburgers. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. So, like I said, we blew aside the war, so there it is. That's how it started. I mean, we've been blessed and we've been touched the whole time long.
And I knew the field had been named by them. I didn't know how that had come about. So that is interesting. And I know for years they've done the celebrations with the kids with it.
Oh yeah, he did. They commit their time there. They get employees to come by once a year. I think we do that in the spring, and it's the same day as dunk day, and where they dunk the coaches. But they come by and they feed the kids at the end of the season, the end of the season party. I mean, they just continue to give, and they're giving in Durham as well. So their heart, their soul is in the right place, and that comes from the guy who leads them there, and that's Kenny Moore.
So if you're an organization listening to this, there's perfect ways to pitch in, partner with some parents or with some community members. I mean, Robin's not coming in as a parent; he's coming in as a community member who just felt the need and wanted to get this done. So so your connections can come from different ways. This part of our interview is our speed round. First question: what's your favorite color?
Blue.
The last book that you read?
Pass.
Okay. Your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
All right. So these are the either or now: cake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Ocean or mountains?
Ocean.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Watch a movie or read a book?
Watch a movie.
Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Neither.
And Twitter or Instagram?
I don't do either.
Robin, thank you for sharing your experience with starting the Miracle League program. And if our listeners have any questions and they want to contact you directly, what's the best way to get in touch with you? I
would say go to the Miracle League of the Triangle website and call the number there. Benji Capps is our executive director. And I'll consider him to be the best in the business, and you'll be talking to the right person. Okay, so we'll link that, and we'll also post the national office link, because anyone who wants to start this process needs to contact Stephanie in the national office. So we'll have that as well. So if you're involved with the Miracle League where you live, leave a comment in the section below with the name of your local program, where that field is located, and their contact information, so that if any other listeners are looking through the comments, they can connect with you that way and to try to get into that one. But the first step you want to take if you're looking for a field or want to start one is to contact Stephanie at the national office.
So, Robin, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time today to share this with us. And just on behalf of our listeners, I appreciate you being here today.
Well, listen, thank you for what you do. I mean, our biggest thing that we are really out there is awareness. And, if we make one person aware through this podcast, and we're hoping it's a lot more, then it's served the purpose. So thank you for what you do.
You've been listening to the Water Prairie Chronicles. Any resources mentioned during this episode will be posted in the description. If you're interested in joining us as a guest, contact us through the links in the description below. Be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. We appreciate your support as we build this resource. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week for a new episode.